relatively short meeting anyway. Okay. And there's Dwayne. So let me get him and off we go.
Okay. Meeting's called to order. Wendy, would you mind calling the roll, please?
Chair Twyman.
Here.
Commissioner Stevens.
Finally here.
Commissioner Puente.
Here.
Commissioner Pierce.
Here.
Commissioner Tharp.
Here.
Commissioner Day.
Here.
And Commissioner Richey.
Here.
And we have a quorum.
Okay. Would you please take a look at the minutes of the last meeting for January 6, 2022? Are there any comments, changes, or corrections?
Are we moving approval of the agenda?
Oh, sorry, my bad. Thank you, Wendy. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting?
I move that, Dwayne.
Do we have a second?
Dennis will second it.
I'll second.
Oh, okay.
Either one.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda for this evening's meeting. Can we just do this by voice vote?
Oh, you can do all in favor. That's just fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
All in favor, no opposed. The agenda has been approved. Do we have any comments, corrections, or changes for the minutes for January 6th? Okay. Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve the minutes for January 6th, 2022?
So move the approval of the minutes for January 6, 2022.
Do I have a second?
Chaz will second.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes of the meeting for January 6th, 2022. All in favor, say aye, please. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to discussion and action items, the 2022 goals and objectives. Wendy, would you like to start us off?
Sure. Each year we take a look at a variety of goals that we try to shoot for each year. Many of these we just carry over from year to year. So these may seem kind of like generic choices right now, but they can absolutely be customized however the commission would like. And I just want to make sure that if there's anything specific that you would like either staff or the Heritage Commission to focus on throughout the year, especially when we have some of these later agendas, then we will go ahead and do that. And otherwise, I do send these as part of the goals for the Heritage Commission for our CLG requirements. So the state does take a look at these and takes a look at what the priorities are for the council or for the commission. So we usually break it off into planning, outreach, and events, and then training. Our training is just general training. They've been offering a lot of options for online training. And so we're just trying to pass those along as staff is made aware of those training opportunities, trying to pass those along to the commission. And as long as we get roughly everyone attending at least one of those training sessions, then we meet our CLG requirements. So other than that, I've listed a few things that we've had on the last probably 3 or 4 years of goals for planning, and then also outreach and events. And if you'd like to take a look at those or comment or discuss them at this point, then I would be happy to edit them however you choose.
Commissioners, any comments?
They all look like worthy goals to me, certainly. Now, accomplishing them, that's the challenge, right?
Always, always.
I will tell you that the no interest loan program was added in as a budget request this year. We don't really have any opportunities to get before the council to try to encourage support for that. So if any of you are interested in contacting council members and letting them know, specifically our council member who is over that particular district, because it would obviously impact him the most, but it's definitely something that I think would be a huge carrot to getting locally designated properties an opportunity to be able to borrow money for what is often a more expensive project to do rehabilitation on historic structures or restoration work. The idea would be to get roughly $45,000 in the budget for HP, have that for several years, and turn it into a revolving loan program so that after several years, it would just be self-sustaining. That opportunity would be 5 grants up to $7,500 each with no interest, with a repayment of 4 to 5 years for the property owner. And that is something that has been pretty successful in some other communities, not necessarily in our region or in our metro, but I have heard of lots of national programs that are similar, and I would love to be able to offer that. But with the budget always being tight, without being able to try to encourage that at the council level, then I don't know that we have a chance to get it funded. So if there's an interest or an opportunity for any of you to talk directly with council member or with that district representative, then I think that that would go a long way in trying to get this program started.
Couple
Who
of quick
provides those
questions.
loans, Wendy? Is that FHA or?
This would be
M&A or something?
city general funds. We would put a deed, a lien on the property in order to make sure that the city could recoup the funding. And as I said, it would just be for probably 3 to 4 years that we would request the same amount of money until it became a revolving self-sustaining loan.
Yeah.
Okay, questions. Are we allowed to do that based upon our guidelines as commissioners? I thought we had, I guess my question comes down to lobbying and influence. When I was looking at our guidelines when I first came on board, I kind of went, okay, what does this mean?
I don't think that there's ever a problem with telling a council member that you're interested in getting support for a preservation program. We obviously can't offer them money for votes or anything that would be a conflict of interest, but anytime that the Heritage Commission, especially as a whole, has an interest in trying to get incentives for property owners, for business owners, or if you just think there could be some support for the program in general, you'd like to maybe see them at more of our outreach events. As far as I know, there's no conflict with you reaching out directly. I did check with our community development director to see if he thought that was a conflict of you reaching out directly and just saying, we think this is a great program, and if you're able to support it, we'd appreciate it. He was not aware of any conflict, so I believe there's no issue with reaching out. Again, as long as there's no monetary offer, there's no services offered. Heritage Commission has no budget, so it's not like we have anything to offer to them monetarily. But as long as it's for the good of the citizens, utilizing taxpayer dollars for the right reasons, then there does not appear to be a conflict.
Yeah.
Are there any particular, you mentioned which counselors might we need to speak to? All of them?
Councilmember Perkins is in District 1, and the historic district is completely within his district. So, as far as I'm concerned, that would directly benefit the citizens that he represents in District 1. I don't think it would, be a bad thing to reach out to any of our council members to explain to them that we're trying to get more incentives for historic property owners, and that we feel like this will directly assist them in what is often considered an additional burden with having to pay more money for restoration work. And so we're hoping to be able to offer this. It may be something that they support and they still aren't able to get the funding for this year, but if we're on their radar and they're even willing to consider it next year, the following year, I don't intend to go anywhere. So if we could even get this program going within the next few years, I think it would be huge for our property owners and our citizens.
What would the criteria be for the loans? Do you have anything drawn up that we could mention?
I do, but because the program is not in place yet, it's just a draft. So it would basically just be that it would have to be owner occupied. It would have to be paid back, I think, in a 4 to 5 year period. Multiple requests can be considered, but first time request would be the priority. They would have to have a locally designated property, so within the local district or one of the local landmarks. And the maximum request has to be $7,500, and it is a match. So they would have to come to the table with the minimum request is $1,000, max is $7,500, and they would have to come to the table with an exact match, regardless of what that request is. And it would basically be for any exterior improvements that they're looking to do to the property that would assist in retaining the historic integrity of that particular property.
Would we consider, for example, let's say someone wanted to do a heat pump to be more sorry, environmentally sound.
So I think the request would come to the Heritage Commission for approval. And we would have to make a decision about whether we wanted MEP, whether you want mechanical, electrical, or plumbing to be part of that. Now, if they have an old plumbing system, they have knob and tube wiring, and they're upgrading that, maybe the Heritage Commission would support that. Maybe you just say the only time it would benefit the taxpayers, because we're utilizing tax dollars, is when it directly affects the view from the right-of-way. And that's just something that we can work out as we get that program started. But initially, the only way we can move forward is with the funding. And so I'm trying to take it kind of one step at a time. If we're able to secure the funding, even if we got half, if we only got maybe enough for 3 loans at $7,500, that would be a start. So I'm willing to accept just about anything that they are willing to work into the budget. And then we can kind of work through the parameters. And if the Heritage Commission would like me to take the entire program to you and work through all of those caveats, or whether or not you'd like to just see the applications and make sure that you feel it's worthy of taxpayer dollars, that's fine as well.
Okay.
Well, there might be, there might be some places where we would want to approve a loan for some things not so visible. A knob and tube wired house, you might lose its features altogether if you didn't take care of some things like that. So I think we need to, at this point, if we can get the money, let's leave the idea open, and then we can narrow it down once we've got the money.
Sure. I think initially my thinking was siding, roofing, windows, because those are the 3 things we're constantly requiring people to spend more money on: retention of wood siding, retention of wood windows. But we can absolutely tweak that in any form or fashion. And we can also, invite the public to attend those meetings as that is worked through. So, complete transparency with the commission and with the public as to how you'd like to tweak that program. My biggest concern is just making sure that we're helping to retain the overall integrity of that particular property, and we're utilizing our tax dollars to the best of our ability. So
we got to start somewhere.
Yes. And, and I'm fine with having to ask for multiple years, ask over and over for some reason that they're tight this year. But I think just kind of putting it on the radar and letting the council members know that this is something that we're putting together, that it's new, and that we're trying to be more proactive in offering these types of incentives for historic property owners. I think it's, it's a win-win for everyone, especially if it's self-sustaining in a very short period of time.
We've had people who have approached us about doing solar, and we could have approved it if they were willing to not do the front-facing portion of the house, but they don't feel like they're getting as big a rate of return. If we could have said, yes, but we could offer you this loan to help offset the fact that we're not letting you do the front of the house, that would have been helpful. They might have considered doing it.
Yeah, it would have to specifically go to that project, and they would have to repay that amount. So I don't know that they would
be worth a try.
It would be, and that's something to have more of a discussion on, and I think it's definitely worthy of that if we can secure the funding. So tackle deferred maintenance, we're still working very closely with code enforcement, trying to get that done.
Hey, Wendy? Yeah, I'm sorry. Hey, would a letter, to Councilman Perkins, signed by the members of the Heritage Commission carry any weight?
I think you can absolutely do that. I just think it would definitely be great, because we don't have as many opportunities with COVID lately to kind of introduce ourselves face to face. It would just be a great opportunity if someone was willing to meet directly with him. Meet outside in the historic district if you like, talk and walk. I want everybody to be safe, but just an opportunity to introduce themselves to the actual commissioners instead of just a letter, I think would be great.
Yeah. I'd also point out that commissioners that council members are elected at large. So calling any of them would probably be good. I'm sure they would defer to Councilman Perkins, but give a call to any and all of them would probably be a good idea.
Yeah.
Any other conversation regarding?
I agree with your attitude. Don't be afraid afraid to ask more than once, having worked with church budgets. I sometimes did things 4 and 5 years before I saw any sign and results of it. But if you give up, if it's important, you stay with it. And this is important, I think.
Mhm.
Absolutely. And I really want the council to see that we're trying to think outside the box. You know, we know we have limited funding. We know we have limited staff, but it doesn't mean that we're not going to keep trying new programs until we get ones that are successful and really helpful for property owners. So I'm all for tossing new ideas out and until one sticks. One of the other ones that's listed is pursue new grant opportunities. One of the things that I would like to try to get is a CLG grant to redo our design guidelines. They are large and bulky and often intimidating, I think, to new property owners. There's nothing like sending somebody, 89 pages and say, here are our simple, easy step guidelines to following what we'd like to see in the historic district. So what I'd like to do is rewrite them where they're much more visually based so that people can readily see what the Heritage Commission would like in order to retain that integrity, see via specific property, and not, we used a lot of text, which I think is helpful, but it also is a lot especially for new property owners. So we would be able to utilize my time for the match. It's a 60-40 match. And again, that would be our certified local government money that we've utilized numerous times, including the last time we did design guidelines. That was over a decade now. And so I don't see any reason why it's going to, it's not too soon to update these design guidelines. So that's something I'd like to pursue. I'm also hoping to pursue a grant to help the Vail Mansion get construction documents for some of the restoration work that they're looking to do out at the property.
I agree with you about the design guidelines, Wendy, but you might agree that they're better than the previous version was. They're more streamlined, than the previous version.
They very much are. We actually put a lot more information in because the previous ones did not have as many pictures. They didn't have anything for sustainability. They didn't have anything that talked about solar panels or wind turbines. So we included a lot more information. I just don't always know that all that text is conveying what we're trying to convey in a really simple, easy to follow format. And that's really what I'd like to shift to with this next version of our guidelines. And of course, grants, that's going to require us to have several public meetings. We would be reviewing that at several Heritage Commission meetings. So there would be lots of opportunities for the public to be involved and also give us input on that as well.
Well, we have to find a contractor to work with too. I don't know if we'd work with the same one we did. I can't remember their name, the company that we worked with before, whether we felt they'd be satisfactory for this next iteration.
Yes, we'd have to put that out to bid.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. You got to get like 3 bids or something like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Is there anything else I don't know if you wanted to go through them one at a time, if you had any to add, if you had something you wanted to remove. We do now have a social media page. We have a historic preservation Facebook page. I've got about 50 people following so far. And I hope to build us back up to several hundred, which is where we were before. And this information is, I post typically at least once or twice a week with several posts each time. And just sharing preservation news, issues going on in our historic sites in the city, opportunities that are upcoming for Preservation Month. And so we do have an opportunity to at least get some general information out to people who are specifically interested in preservation.
Have you thought about expanding outside of Facebook to Twitter or Instagram or?
The city at this time, their policy does not allow it.
Okay. Okay.
That's really unfortunate because Facebook captures what should I say, maybe an older demographic, which is fine, but it doesn't capture the younger people, unless I'm mistaken. That's my impression of.
I think you're accurate. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we're not suggesting you do TikTok, so we're okay with that.
But I noticed you've been posting. I read several things that you put on Wendy on Independence Then and Now. you know, and that seems to be getting some, there are a lot of people look at that.
Yes, they do. There's some really interesting historic photos and discussions that are going
I
on.
noticed you were using it too. I'm just saying that I think that's good because at least there's one old guy reading that.
I know that Sam and the Truman Library have been pretty active on Twitter and got some nice play lately. Pops up on the Kansas City feed, so that's kind of nice.
Yeah, Instagram too. Not that I never look at Instagram, but we're on there too.
It's a thing. It's a thing. Yeah.
Right.
Do we have any other comments, any additions that we might like to make to the division goals? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the 2022 goals and objectives?
I would if I could.
Well, I'll move it, but it looks bad in the minutes when Stevens is moving all these things.
No, he just a go-getter, Dwayne. That's what it amounts to.
Well, I've moderated enough meetings. I know how you can plead for a motion. So
this is the sound of me pleading.
Yeah. So I move that we approve the Heritage Commission and Preservation Division goals for 2022.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
Chaz
that.
will second.
Okay.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2022 goals and objectives as written. Do we need a roll call for this, Wendy?
No.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion passes. I think that moves us on to reports and comments. Do we have any public comments?
Doesn't look like we have any members of the public.
Okay, Heritage Commissioners, do you have anything that you would like to add? Anything
Wendy,
from?
anything on? Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
On-site CLG training, Wendy. I suppose that's probably a no-go at this point, right?
I'll be honest. The staff has had such a big turnover at the state. Our CLG coordinator is gone. Our grants administrator just left. They are consolidating as many job responsibilities as they can. So until they get a permanent person back in that position, I don't see them moving forward with coordinating a large CLG training opportunity. Okay. So that I think they'll just try to keep going with virtual opportunities, and we'll take advantage of the NAPC when we get those. And that's going to have to do for now.
Okay, sure. Yeah. So COVID aside, it'd be a challenge for them anyway.
It would be huge. Mm-hmm. Yes. I mean, they even just asked for me to suspend sending them my minutes and my agenda each month because they just don't have any staff to even send it to. They said just consolidate it and send it at the end of the year.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope they can replace those positions. I hope they're not, slashing the SHPO's budget and, preservation funds.
From what I understand, it's just opportunities elsewhere, and it's just unfortunate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Any other comments? Any updates from the Truman Library or the Truman Home or that we should know about?
Well, Truman Library is still open 3 days a week, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. Come see us if you haven't already. I'd like to arrange a tour for the Heritage Commission, actually. Maybe we can talk about that, Wendy. Sure.
I know in tourism.
Walk you around. I know somebody that works over there, so I could,
yeah,
get you in and walk you around. If there's interest in doing that.
Well, I think everybody should. I've been there and working in tourism. Gary, who's there at the visitor center, he just got over there with his sister and he was just very excited about how impressive it was. He had not seen it since they'd redone things. And I tried to tell him earlier that it was. But I think anybody gets in there, they're going to be the best advertisement you can have because you can spend 2 or 3 hours and still need to go back and do more. It is very, very well done.
Thank you, Dwayne. Thank you very much. We're hoping to, expand our hours maybe in the, coming months, but I know with COVID, it's, whenever I've tried to do a timetable or prediction, that goes out the window pretty quickly. But Carol, any update with the Truman Home and its reopening plans?
Yeah, we're right now doing risk assessments, or we're starting those next week, and talking about in April sometime. So depending on how COVID keeps rolling and all of that. But the Nolan House is open Wednesday through Sunday, and that's across the street from the Truman Home. And so we'll keep doing that. And when we open, we're talking about how we limit the number of maybe cutting our tours at that time to 4. I'm not sure. So we're going to be going through our risk assessment process and trying to get that all figured out in the next few weeks.
That's great. And then the farm home too, Carol, is that be on the same timetable maybe?
That'll probably open in May. They have their big Harry's Heydays or whatever that the event is out there, and we're hoping the first part of May. So we just found out we've got some damage out there, so we're going to have to be working on that and figuring out what we're going to do with that. So, but the first part of May was the interior. We have a new roof, but there's been some paint and wallpaper coming off, and so we need to figure out, do we have lead paint? Is it something we can work on or whatever? So most of my crew's gone this week, so that's to deal with next week.
Indeed.
But we'll do the outdoor tours. I know we'll have those starting in May, but we just have to figure out what the interior out at the farm's going to be.
Okay, thanks.
Any other Heritage Commission comments? Okay. Wendy, do you have anything to add for the good of the order?
I am finalizing the Preservation Month calendar. We're going to have at least 5 in-person events this May. And so I would really encourage everybody to attend at least one, just to have an opportunity to introduce yourself and to promote the Heritage Commission and what you do a little bit. I will get that calendar out to you. We have our last planning meeting next Wednesday, and then we'll finalize the calendar. I'll get that information into City Scene. We'll put it online. We'll get it on City 7. We'll get it out to you for all of you to share. So look for that to come in the next few weeks. I haven't gotten any feedback yet on preservation awards, so I don't know if we're having trouble with that still. The last several years, it has not been something that I've gotten a lot of responses on. So again, we talked about it preliminarily in our Preservation Month meeting, but something to think about if perhaps the Heritage Commission wants to choose someone or a project to highlight rather than reaching out to the public. When I set this out on our forum, the vast majority of the cities and counties that responded said that their Heritage Commission members actually nominate someone or a project. They don't actually solicit it with the public. So that might be something that we want to do and shift and start looking at recognizing, if not this year, then definitely next year. Our meetings, I don't know anyone who's opposed to meeting in person. So I think we're going to go ahead and try to meet starting April in person again. If COVID flares up again and we have some crazy wave, then we can always go back, virtual again, and we'll just do it based on everybody's comfort level. But for now, we have so few members of the public that typically attend, and it's typically just the commission and the staff. So I think our risk is relatively low. We're trying to meet in person again. Is there anyone who is opposed to that?
I may be. I have to go down to MD Anderson for cancer treatment. I'm not sure what that's going to entail, but based on their risk assessment for me, I may not be doing in-person things.
Okay. Is there anyone else that would be opposed? Because I'm sure we can work something out with our chair.
I can call in if we can work something along those lines, if that's the preference.
I'm sure we can.
No, it sounds fine to me, Wendy.
Okay. And then finally, sorry, go ahead, Dwayne.
There's enough space, where we meet, to spread out. And even if we had a few public people, and they'd still have the option if they want to wear a mask. No, that doesn't mean or or chairperson, I understand if you're taking treatments like that, but anyway, if we needed to meet there, I think it would, I just like seeing people in person.
Well, it's been 2 years, so it has been a while, and I know there's several members who have not met each other yet. So I think that gives us a good opportunity to at least try that. And if we need to go virtual again, we can go ahead and do that. We may also do virtual meetings when we have those conflicts with the Memorial Day or Labor Day holidays where we get bumped from council. You know, I think we're just going to probably plan on doing virtual those 2 meetings. Because it's always difficult to try to get council chambers because of youth court and other conflicts. So we'll probably still do 1 or 2 virtual meetings. If that's the case, this link will be wiped out and we'll do individual links for just those 2 meetings. So there shouldn't be any problem with everybody jumping on for those specific individual meetings. But otherwise, the only other thing I have to say is that we are down to 7. 2 of those members are advisory members only. So we only have 5 voting members and we need 4 to hold a meeting. So I would just ask if for some reason you can't come, and especially if you know well in advance, please let me know so that I can let everybody utilize their time, you know, the way that they would prefer. I would hate for us to get to the point where we post the meeting, we pay for the public notice, we get the property owners here, and then we find out at the last minute that we can't hold the meeting because we don't have a quorum. Things come up and that's completely understandable. But if you know well in advance, if you would let me know, so we can just go ahead and either reschedule or bump it to the next meeting. If you have friends, family, people you know that live or work in Independence, please encourage them to put in with the Heritage Commission. We are a fun bunch. It's not always the most thrilling conversations, but I think it is a good group of people and we do good things for our community. So if you know people who are interested, please encourage them to put an application in with the city clerk's office. And other than that, I have nothing else to discuss for the evening.
So we'll have a vacancy. Austin is limited term limited off.
Austin's decided not to come back in. He's fulfilled half or a portion of a term and then also a full term. Okay. And so he could come back in for another 3-year term, and he's chosen not to. So we were down 1, down to 8, and then with Austin gone, we're down to 7, which gives us our 5. So it just makes it really tight from month to month. If for some reason we end up losing those 2, we can't hold our meeting.
Right.
Okay. Any other comments for the good of the order? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Robert, I'll move to adjourn.
Okay. I'm putting you down, Robert.
Good.
Okay. So Robert has moved to adjourn. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Yes, I'll second it.
Yeah.
It's been moved and seconded that we adjourn. Before closing, and voting, I might add, you know, it's 6:46. This takes us between half an hour to an hour to do. It's a nice tight time frame from between 6 and I know technically 8. But we usually are done by 7 in time for the State of the Union address. So there you go. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye.
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 Any opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you, Wendy, and thank you, members.
Thank you all so much for your time.
Thank you, Wendy. Thank you.
Take
Take care,
care,
everybody.
Let us know how things are going at MD Anderson. We'll be thinking about you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Will do.
Thanks.
Y'all take care.
Yeah.
See you in April.
Indeed.
Yes, definitely. The C is the important.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Bye. Bye.